Good morning, dear colleagues. Please take your seats. I call the meeting on General Committee on Economic Affairs, Science, Technology, Environment to order. Colleagues, the agenda for this meeting has been distributed. Could I please invite you to adopt the agenda? Are there any objections? So the agenda is adopted. Thank you. Dear delegates, we are allowed to leave the bags, it's just an information, the bags in this room after the morning meeting. Between the two meetings, we can lay your stuff here inside, it's safe, until the afternoon session. Yesterday we had an excellent general debate on the report and draft resolution implementing OSCE commitments, the role of parliaments. We will now begin the consideration of the amendments to the draft resolution. In discussing amendments, I will call the proposer of the amendment first, and then we'll call any opponent of the amendment. I will then ask the sponsor of the draft resolution, Ms. Katsarava, for her opinion. And following that, I shall put the amendment to vote. All the speeches are limited to 1 minute. It's more or less the normal procedure as always. We are also required to agree each paragraph that is not amended. So we'll start right now, and we will start with paragraph 1. Those who are in favor? I think, yeah. Let me. Yeah.
My staff will bring my ballot.
Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? So the paragraph 1 is agreed to. I don't know how many 24 votes. Now I call Mr. Fokin from Russia to propose amendment
2.
2.
Amendment 1 to the paragraph.
Yes, amendment 1, but paragraph 2. You have the floor. Excuse me, Ms. Gatt, can you put on the microphone because we can't hear? Thank you.
Да, спасибо. Уважаемые коллеги, мы считаем, что упоминание дестабилизирующей роли климатических изменений является вольным трактованием документа и предлагаем следующую редакцию, признавая необходимость смягчения последствий и адаптации к изменению климата во всем регионе ОБСЕ. Это как раз соответствует Будапештской декларации и является более корректной формулировкой. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 1? So I'll give the floor to Ukrainian delegation. You have the floor.
Madam Chair, with all due respect to our colleagues from Russian delegation, I think it is important that our documents remain with a very strong, direct and concrete language. Indeed, climate change has destabilization in many regions, including many of our countries in the region. So I think we have to be very direct, very concise with a negative impact of climate change. Thus, we reject the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bielkova. What is Ms. Katsarava's opinion of the amendment?
Thank you. We think that this amendment is acceptable, and we do not think that we should reject. Although I understand the point made by the Ukrainian colleagues, but I think that we should agree, accept this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Katsarava. I shall now put Amendment 1 to the vote. Will all those in favor of Amendment 1 please raise their voting cards, please? Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment is adopted with 25 votes, 8 against, and 1 abstention. We will now vote on paragraph 2, those as amended, those in favor. Those against. Against. Abstentions? Thank you. So the paragraph 2 as amended is agreed to 19 votes and any against and 3 abstentions. We will now take the paragraphs 3 to 12 to the resolution all together. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? So we will now vote on the paragraphs. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So paragraphs 3 to 12 agreed to 39 in favor, 39 votes. I call now Mr. Onitchenko from Russia to propose Amendment 2. You have the floor.
Спасибо, госпожа председательствующая. Инициатива, которая упоминается в пункте 13, была запущена в ходе 23-й сессии в ноябре 2017 года и ставит своей целью отказ от использования угля в качестве меры по снижению выбросов. С учетом значимости угольной промышленности в энергобалансе не только моей страны, хотя моя страна защищена наиболее, у нас и гидроресурсы, и атомные ресурсы есть, и тем не менее это очень чувствительно. Включение данного абзаца может коренным образом противоречить подходам многих стран, входящих в наш Союз. Кроме того, упоминание в документе только одной из 10 климатических инициатив, к тому же не являющейся универсальной и не относящейся к официальным мероприятиям Конвенции, на мой взгляд и на взгляд делегации России, является неоправданной. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Onychenko. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 2? What is Mr. Katsarava's opinion of the amendment?
No, it's Denmark that would.
So you have the floor, please.
Yes, I just think it's important that we recognize that coal has nothing to do in the green transition of our energy systems. And therefore, I think this paragraph is really needed in the resolution.
Thank you. What is Ms. Kastrava's
This is
opinion?
exactly our position too, that we need to keep this paragraph in the resolution because of the importance of it, and that this is and we didn't hear arguments that requires removal of this amendment from the draft, so we would propose to keep it. So I agree with our colleague from Denmark.
Thank you, Ms. Katsarava. I shall now put the amendment to vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards, the voting cards.
In favor.
In favor of the amendment. No. Yes, in favor. Yes, yes.
So we are not raising it. Yeah.
Those who are against. Thank you. There's any abstentions? Thank you. The amendment is defeated with 10 votes in favor, 29 against, and 1 abstention. So I call Mr. Haldag from Canada to propose Amendment 3.
Colleagues, thank you for considering my proposed amendment to the Second General Committee's draft resolution. I'm proposing that a preambular paragraph be added to the draft resolution in order to make specific mention of carbon pricing as an indispensable tool to combat climate change. As parliamentarians, it is our responsibility to champion the implementation of mechanisms, such as carbon pricing, to limit the increase in the global average temperature to below 2 degrees Celsius in accordance with Paris Agreement commitments. Transitioning to low-carbon economies is essential for the future prosperity of the OSCE participating states, and as my proposed amendment outlines, carbon pricing has benefits beyond reducing greenhouse gas emissions. For example, carbon pricing also provides an incentive to invest in renewable energy, low-carbon infrastructure, cleaner energy production, and technological innovation, all of which help to create new jobs and ultimately economic growth. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 3? So you have the floor in Canada delegation.
Thank you very much, Madam Senya, fellow delegates, and Ms. Katasova from Georgia. With respect to Amendment 3, we have a situation where a specific funding process is being advanced does not reflect the realities of other OSCE states. Countries such as Australia have moved on from a carbon tax. Canada's previous support for pricing initiatives was based on the understanding that there would be a common North American plan undertaken, which is no longer on the table. Because of these and other competitive factors like trade uncertainties, pipeline delays, and the low tax policy now present with our southern neighbours, the concept of a carbon tax is rapidly losing favour among Canadians. In light of paragraph 33, where member states are invited to develop incentives and economy funds to encourage the use of clean renewable energy sources, and to move away from the narrative that fossil fuel resource countries like Canada are somehow not doing their share, I suggest we do not support this amendment because of its prescriptive character, and instead focus on amendment number 15, which more universally urges OSCE and OSCE EPA to look for best practices related to various carbon pricing mechanisms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, what is Ms. Katsarava's opinion?
We were thinking to support this amendment if there are no objections in the hall.
So I'll put this amendment to the vote. Yes, please, you have the floor. Yes.
The position was that it would be supported if there was no objections from the floor. Is that what was intended, or because there was an objection from the floor?
Well, what I meant is that if majority supports it, we would like to support this amendment in the resolution. That's what I meant, sorry.
So I think we can move to the votation because the position of Ms. Kasrava is clear. So will those who are in favor on this amendment please raise your cards? Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. If there's any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment is adopted with 22 votes in favor and 9 against and 13 abstentions. We will now take paragraphs 14 and 15 together. Does anyone want to separate them before the votation, before the presentation and votation? No. So we will now vote on these paragraphs. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? 1 against. Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So, paragraphs 14 and 15 agreed to 35 in favor, 1 against, and 5 abstentions. I call now Mr. Pite Kopitis from Cyprus to propose Amendment 4. Mr. Pito Kopitis from Cyprus. Where is that? Is there anyone from Cyprus delegation? Oh, there's nobody here.
Ms. Kasrava like to?
Ms. Kasrava, would you like to comment this amendment, please?
Actually, yes. Our position was that we already have a similar provision in the resolution, which is 40, which I can read, calls on the OSCE to establish a system of ecological monitoring of war-torn and occupied territories to assess the disruptive and disastrous consequences of conflicts on the environment and consequently formulate recommendations in line with the OSCE principle of comprehensive security. So what we were going to suggest to the co-sponsor of this amendment to reconsider whether they would still like to keep it in the draft, in the resolution, because to a certain extent we do see the duplication. Simply we didn't focus on geographical, on geography, whereas it's more specific. But this is our position. But if the majority supports this amendment, we do not mind to keep this in the draft, but to a certain extent, we already cover it in the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Katsarava. Exceptionally, I don't know if any one of you want to commentate on this amendment. So I shall put now Amendment 4 to the vote. Will those who are in favor of this please raise your cards? Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment 4 is defeated with 5 votes in favor, 27 against, and 10 abstentions. I call now Mr. Hudson from United States to propose Amendment 5. You have the floor.
I have signed the Fifth Amendment, Ms. Chairwoman, and I'm going to present the amendment on behalf of the people that have signed it. So with this amendment, we have people from Sweden, from Lithuania, from Albania, Macedonia, United States of America. Also, a number of other delegations have expressed their support about this amendment. It's a balanced approach. It expresses concern about the possible increase in economic and political instability in the OSCE region, and also takes into account the energy diversification. So we need to have this into account, and I would kindly ask the people that are here, the parliamentarians that are here, to support this amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? Ms. Gett, you have the floor.
Мы против данной поправки. Более того, считаем, что идет политизация экологической тематики, в том числе и используя тему Северного потока. Все необходимые разрешения на прокладку морского участка газопровода получены от Германии, Швеции, Финляндии. Мы твердо убеждены, что диверсификация маршруток поставок газа, устранение транзитных рисков только укрепят европейскую энергетическую безопасность и повысят надежность газоснабжения конечных потребителей. Я предлагаю не поддерживать данную поправку, поскольку это вмешательство политическое в экономические вопросы, которые согласованы со всеми европейскими странами. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak on this amendment? So, what is Ms. Katsarava's opinion?
We support this amendment.
Thank you. So I shall put this for the vote.
Okay, so we just, so there's no oral amendment. She's not proposing any oral amendment. Okay, just put it to the vote.
Those who are...
in case it fails, then we will offer the merging.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
What they told me.
Will those who are in favor please raise your cards? Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the amendment was adopted with 22 in favor and 14 against and 7 abstentions, sorry. So I call now Mr. Gerasimov from Ukraine to propose, Ms. Bialkova, to propose Amendment 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, actually, our amendment goes in unison with the previous one, which just stresses the environmental aspect of the Nord Stream 2. We are now hosted by a wonderful country of Germany, and I think it is important to remember that, you know, there is this assumption that everybody is in agreement for Nord Stream 2 in this country, which is not true. I follow German, you know, media very closely, and I see that many environmentalists are protesting, not only putting together their statements, but they also go to court. Recently, well-known ecology organization NABU was just opposing in the constitutional court this project. Angela Merkel herself acknowledged that the project has geopolitical and otherwise political implications. So I think it is only natural for our organization to see that the projects of such great you know, scale will definitely impact not only one country, but many countries. Let me also remind that even though some of the official permits were released, there were also concerns, at least by Sweden. Denmark is still not decided whether to issue their permit. So I think we have to say to have our say on this issue. So I would kindly ask for your support on the issue.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? Ms. Onyshenko, you have the floor.
Равно как и анонимный родитель за 5-ю поправку, так и тот, кто выступил по поправке номер 6, не привел ни одного аргумента в части влияния на окружающую среду. Хочу заверить Высокое Собрание, что все проблемы технического, и не только технического характера относительно окружающей среды там отсутствуют. Поэтому все, что говорится и по предыдущей, и по этой поправке, огульная политическая риторика. Проблем с окружающей средой от проекта «Северный поток-2» нет. Поэтому я предлагаю эту поправку не принимать. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Honichenko. Ms. Barnett, you have the floor.
Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, Nord Stream 1 hat bisher nicht Umweltprobleme hervorgebracht. Nord Stream 2 wird genauso verlagert in die Ostsee. Ich glaube, wenn Nord Stream 2 über Land verlagert werden würde, gäbe es wahrscheinlich keine oder weniger politische Probleme. Aber gäbe es da nicht auch Umweltprobleme, müsste man dann nicht genau das auch nachfragen. Und ehrlich gesagt, ich weiß immer noch nicht bei dem vorangegangenen Antrag, wo die politische Instabilität der gesamten OSZE-Region, also auch die USA würden dann instabil bei Nord Stream 2, wenn man das verlegt. Das erschließt sich mir nicht. Wir sollten hier wirklich uns konzentrieren auf Umweltprobleme und die würden bei Überlandleitung genauso sein wahrscheinlich oder vielleicht sogar noch stärker als bei einer im Wasser verlegten Leitung.
Thank you, Mr. Doris Barnett. Now I give the floor. What's his opinion of Ms. Katsarava?
With all my respect to the views expressed here, we were thinking that since this is the environmental, it has got the environmental nature, we would support this amendment.
So I shall put now Amendment 6 to the vote. Will all those in favor please raise your cards? Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment is defeated with 18 votes in favor, 20 against, and 8 abstentions. We will now vote on the paragraph 16. 16, yes. Those in favor? Those against? Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? So the paragraph 16 is adopted with 39 votes. I call now Ms. Urikanian from Armenia to propose Amendment 7.
Thank you. In paragraph 17, we propose to replace the wording internally displaced persons with environmental migrants, since in the first part of this particular paragraph we speak about the phenomenon of environmental migration due to disasters and climate change. We need to keep consistency between two parts of the paragraph. Second, climate change and disasters lead to cross-border movement of people, which is a global challenge in itself and needs to properly reflect it. Third, the term environmental migration is wider and encompasses both those who move within their national boundaries and those who are crossing natural boundaries. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak on this amendment? What is Ms. Katsarava's opinion? Oh, sorry. You have, yes, the Ukrainian delegation, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Though we do understand the intention of the amendment, however, we dispute the change of the wording, because internally displaced persons are, as a term, is a well-known international term, which actually exists in many of our own documents. So we protest against the change of this particular terminology.
Thank you very much. Ms. Katsarava, what's your opinion?
In fact, my colleague from Ukraine said what I wanted to explain and justify the way I wanted to justify. We do not want to lose the focus of IDP in this amendment and in this context. But what we could propose is to merge these two terms, if that can be a solution. And keep both IDP of internally displaced persons and environmental migrants, if that is an option, but we would strongly support to keep the term IDP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I shall put now the Amendment 7 to the vote.
So is the committee happy for that oral amendment to be taken? Are there any objections to the oral amendment?
If that alternative.
Now we'll put the oral amendment.
Are there any objections to the oral amendment?
To the vote. Are there any objections with this suggestion that Ms. Katsarava just said? Can you repeat? Yeah. Just for
the suggestion from the Armenian colleagues was to take out IDP and instead put environmental migrants. What we are suggesting is to keep both as an alternative, not to lose the focus of internally displaced persons in this amendment, and to also add the suggested version, environmental migrants.
My point is, does anyone that objects this suggestion? Ukraine objects, so we can not consider with the objection. We cannot consider. Please, you have the floor.
Госпожа председатель, при всем уважении к такому предложению, чтобы найти компромисс, я хотел бы обратить ваше внимание, что вынужденно перемещенные лица, они в себе объединяют очень множество факторов, в том числе экологические катастрофы, в том числе социальные бедствия, в том числе техногенные аварии. И мне представляется, что попытка добавить к устоявшемуся термину внутренне перемещенные лица еще категории этих факторов, это приведет нас просто к бесчисленному их перечислению. Я бы просил оставить так, как у нас указано в пункте внутренне перемещенные лица. Спасибо.
So I'll move and we'll vote the oral amendment, just to clarify. Those who are in favor of the oral amendment, please raise your cards. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll vote on the original one because we had one objection, so we cannot consider the oral amendment, and we'll move to vote the original one. And those who are in favor of the original one, please raise your cards.
Original, yeah.
Thank you very much. Those who are against. Those, any abstentions? Sorry, any abstentions? Thank you very much. So the amendment was defeated with 8 votes in favor, 20 against, and 11 abstentions. We will now vote paragraph 17 as amended. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. 2, 3. No, 2. Thank you. So the paragraph is adopted with 34 in favor and 5 abstentions. We'll now take paragraphs 18 to 25 together. Does anyone want to separate vote of any of these paragraphs? So we will now vote on the paragraphs. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. So the paragraphs 18 to 25 was agreed to 43 in favor and 4 abstentions. Amendment 8, I call Mr. Onychenko from Russia to propose it.
Глубоко уважаемая председательствующая, глубоко уважаемые коллеги, Безусловно, мы должны призвать ОБСЕ усилить акценты в борьбе с коррупцией. И мы хотели бы вот здесь обратить внимание на следующее, что мы должны это сделать путем всемирного содействия существующим механизмам обзора, реализации действующих международных антикоррупционных конвенций в рамках ООН, Совета Европы и Организации экономического сотрудничества и развития для оказания поддержки нашим 57 странам. Создание и изучение возможности некого тематической полевой миссии, во-первых, непонятно, что это такое, что это за инструмент, и использовался ли когда-либо в другой практике нашего Союза, это прежде всего необоснованные бюджетные расходы. Давайте действовать в рамках тех механизмов, которые у нас есть, действовать решительно и поддерживать их. А вот изобретение нового механизма и создание его на наши бюджетные деньги, наверное, сегодня можно считать несвоевременным. И мы предлагаем принять нашу редакцию. Опять же, повторяю, мы категорически за то, что вопросы призывать ОБСЕ об усилении акцентов в борьбе с коррупцией мы обязаны. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak? Belgian delegation, please. And then you have the floor.
Merci. Je pense qu'effectivement que l'amendement qui est proposé par notre collègue est intéressant parce qu'il précise toute une série de mécanismes existants. Donc ça apporte, je pense, effectivement quelque chose à la résolution. Mais par contre, ce que je regrette, c'est qu'ils ne tiennent, avec cet amendement qui modifie entièrement le paragraphe 26, qu'ils ne tiennent pas compte de la proposition qui était faite de cette mise en place d'une mission thématique ou d'une structure existante. Et donc j'aimerais proposer éventuellement un amendement oral qui fait un mixte des deux, qui reprend effectivement la proposition de mission thématique et de mettre en place une structure éventuelle, mais qui reprend aussi la proposition qui est faite par mon collègue de reprendre les mécanismes existants. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. And then Ukraine delegation, please.
Госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги, я могу допустить, что понятие полевые миссии тематические могут у кого-то вызывать изжогу. Наша организация в своей деятельности должна обеспечивать те принципы, которые положены в основу ее создания. Мы призываем отклонить поправку номер 8, поскольку она направлена на размытие пункта 26 проекта резолюции, в которой говорится о возможности создания тематической полевой миссии. Нам представляется, что возможность создания такой тематической миссии позволит существенно продвинуться нам в рамках деятельности нашей организации в борьбе с коррупцией. Мы предлагаем отклонить поправку номер 8.
Thank you very much. The point is, I'm dealing with the problem because I think we allow only one position against. The Belgians spoke, then the Ukraine spoke, and exceptionally I'll let Ms. Barnett spoke, and in the others ahead we'll have only one comment against the proposal. So exceptionally, because I allow the Ukraine delegation to speak, if you want to speak briefly, and then in the others, we'll have just one. The question is to the Belgian delegation, your suggestion, we must consider it as an oral amendment. So I shall put it for the vote. Does anyone object this oral amendment from Belgian delegation that makes the original amendment to the suggestion of amendment of Russian delegation? Can you stress, please, your concrete suggestion just for us to vote, please?
Mais, donc effectivement, je pense que partir du texte initial est intéressant parce qu'il reprécise la possibilité de constituer une mission thématique sur le terrain ou de mettre en place une autre structure, mais on peut aussi préciser que la lutte doit se faire y compris en coopérant aux mécanismes existants et reprendre aussi le texte de notre collègue parce qu'il permet de repréciser les mécanismes existants tout en maintenant la possibilité, et c'est bien mis qu'on exerce la possibilité d'exister une mission. Je pense que la notion de possibilité est aussi importante, donc quand j'entends les remarques des uns et des autres, et c'est pour ça que je suggère effectivement de reprendre les deux positions, cette possibilité, mais aussi de reprendre l'ensemble des mécanismes existants. Merci.
Thank you. So, does anyone object this suggestion of Belgian delegation, this oral amendment? So I shall put it to the vote. So who are in favor of this oral amendment, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the oral amendment was adopted with 33 votes in favor and 1 abstention. 7 abstentions. Now I shall put...
I think the oral amendment combined them, so we don't need to put the original.
Okay. So now we'll move to paragraph 26 as amended. Mm-hmm. Okay. So those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Thank you. Paragraph 26 as amended is adopted to 38 in favor and 2 abstentions. We will now vote on paragraph 27. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against, please raise your cards. Any abstentions? So the paragraph 27 is agreed to 43 votes in favor and 2 abstentions. I call now Ms. Pirstuk from Belarus to propose Amendment 9.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги, предлагаем дополнить преамбулу резолюции Общего комитета новым параграфом по тематике гармонизации интеграционных процессов на пространстве ОБСЕ. В соответствии с обязательствами, закрепленными в Хельсинском заключительном акте и в Астанинской юбилейной декларации 2010 года, полагаем необходимым развивать и поддерживать взаимодействие между различными интеграционными процессами и объединением в регионе ОБСЕ с целью создания общего экономического пространства. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against Amendment 9? What is Ms. Katsarava's opinion, please?
We support this amendment.
Thank you very much. I shall now put this amendment to the vote. Will those who are in favor please raise your cards? Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment was adopted with 47 votes in favor and 3 abstentions. I now call Mr. Pitokopitis from Cyprus to speak to Amendment 10. Oh, it's not here. I don't know if there's anyone who... Ms. Katsarava's opinion, please.
We support this amendment.
Thank you. So I shall put this amendment to the vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The amendment is adopted with 36 in favor, 4 against, and 2 abstentions. Amendment 11, I call now Mr. Carracedo from Spain to speak on this amendment, please.
Hello, good morning. The amendment tries to point out the role of the cities within the measures that should be taken against the climate change. The UN report on the issue in 2015 states that more than 50% of the world population right now lives in the cities. Cities are responsible for about 75% of the CO2 emissions, mainly because of the transport and because of the construction, because of the buildings. Buildings are responsible for, in the construction process, the product are used and how it is built, and as well in the maintenance. So we are with this amendment, we were trying to give room for the cities as the central role they have to play in taking into account measures that will counter the global climate change.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who wants to speak against this amendment? What is Ms. Katsarava's opinion, please?
I agree. I support.
Thank you very much. So I'll put it for the vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment is adopted with 37 votes in favor, 4 against, and 2 abstentions. We will now vote the paragraph 28 as amended. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the paragraph 28 as amended is adopted with 39 in favor, 4 against, and 2 abstentions. We'll now vote the paragraph 29. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the paragraph is agreed to 39 votes in favor, 4 against, and 0 abstentions. I call now Mr. Pito Kopiti is not here, so what is Ms. Katsara's opinion?
I support this amendment too.
Thank you. So I'll put it for the vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the amendment is adopted with 43 in favor and 1 abstention. We will now take the paragraphs 30 to 32 together. Does anyone want to separate them? So we'll now vote on these paragraphs. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? So the paragraphs 30 to 32 are adopted with 48 votes in favor. I call now Mr. I don't know if someone is speaking on behalf of the American delegation. About Amendment 13. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chairwoman. It's also a reasonable amendment, amendment number 13. It's supported by parliamentarians from a number of countries, from the US, from Slovakia, Poland, Romania, Cyprus, Lithuania, and last but not least, from Greece and Macedonia. So just the fact that it's supported by Greek and Macedonian parliamentarians, that means it's a really good amendment. And basically, basically it's about energy diversification, it's about cheaper energy, at the end about better economies. So every help and every support is welcomed and needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Doris Barnett, you have the floor.
Ich möchte gegen diesen Änderungsantrag sprechen, und zwar aus folgendem Grund. Diversifizierung ist absolut in Ordnung und richtig und wichtig, aber wir sollten unseren Fokus legen auf erneuerbare Energien und nicht immer mehr die alten Energien. Flüssiggas, da müssten ja die Länder erstmal die Hubs aufbauen, und das ist es eigentlich nicht Sache der Marktakteure. Müssen die Staaten jetzt das sagen? Vorhin haben wir die Nord Stream 2 abgelehnt. Aber jetzt sind wir dann dafür, jetzt Flüssiggasanlagen aufzubauen. Also ich denke, das ist Sache der Marktakteure, und wir sollten unser Augenmerk darauf legen, dass wir erneuerbare Energien und Energieeinsparung in den Vordergrund stellen, nicht die Ausweitung des Energieverbrauchs durch jetzt Flüssiggas oder ähnliche Anlagen. Also da würden wir uns ein Stück weit widersprechen.
Thank you very much. What is Ms. Katsurava's opinion?
I support this amendment, but let's put it out for vote.
Thank you very much. I'll put it for vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those who are against. Thank you. Any abstentions? I think we must repeat the votation because we have 20 in favor and 20 against. So I'll put it for a votation again. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the amendment is adopted with 21 in favor, 20 against, and 1 abstention. Excuse me, you have the Russian delegation wants the floor.
Голосов было не 21. Да, мы возражаем, потому что мы тоже посчитали голоса, их было 20, не 21. Как вы и сказали первоначально, откуда 21-то? Мы тоже вели подсчет голосов.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again, Ms. Gett, just to clarify.
If people could stand up, it would be helpful.
And I'll ask, please, if you can stand with the hand raised a bit more. The Czech Republic delegation wants the floor.
Excuse me, please, Madam. Can you wait a minute? Our colleague go to restroom.
Excuse me?
He was by the first voting, and by the second voting he is at restrooms.
Yeah, but we can't consider. We can also consider the votes inside the room, of course. So we'll do it one more time, and it's the last one because. Okay. So who is in favor? Please raise your cards. Thank you.
You got 22.
I got 22. Against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Smile abstention. So?
I think we have a tie.
Again?
Yeah. If it's tied, we can't. I think we keep the text as it was. It fails if it's tied.
It fails?
It fails.
If it's tied.
I think it's if it's tied, we'll take the text as it was. So the amendment is defeated with 22 in favor and 22 against, 1 abstention. Then we. Ms. Bielkova,
yes. On the procedure, I'd like your clarification. You know, what just happened, we had 3 votes. I need to understand, how do we proceed forward? If we are going to recount every time we have hesitations by one of the delegations, we are going to nowhere. You know, so I think we had a clear vote with majority of 21 to 20 or 22 to 21, and then one delegation objected, and I think, you know, we either pass it to the, you know, General Assembly or plenary session, or, I mean, I'm not sure I understand the intention here. We recounted 3 times, 1 was majority. Why do we say it's rejected? Please clarify.
The question is, we had 3 votations and it was 2 close results in every votation. 1, 21, 10, 21, then 22, 22, then the difference of 1 vote, and the staff was dealing, if they are counting, they did count well. So in the 3 times we have close results, so I cannot invent other votes here. I understand your point that people sometimes hesitate with the repeating voting, but that's it. We have a struggle here and the divide room in this amendment. Armenia delegation wants the floor, please.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, можно пересчитать еще 23 раза. Если равенство голосов было зафиксировано в первый раз, не значит ли сие, что поправка не проходит? А если это подтверждается еще несколькими разами, сколько можно голосовать по одному и тому же вопросу? Это несерьезно. Спасибо.
I think we must take the decision and we must move on. And this amendment was defeated because it was a tie many times. So we'll move to Amendment 14. And that's it. Russian delegation wants to speak on this amendment, still in the previous election.
Госпожа председательствующая, я прошу вас соблюдать регламент, потому что в этом зале отсутствуют какие-либо делегации. Здесь присутствуют делегации стран, легитимные, имеющие соответствующие статусы и так далее. И поэтому выражение типа каких-либо делегаций мне кажется оскорбительным, и на это вам нужно реагировать как председательствующий, а не пропускать это мимо ушей. А с остальным в этом вопросе мы согласны, что действительно будем при заключительном этапе уже решать эту поправку. Но она действительно была проголосована дважды с равным количеством голосов. И по регламенту все трактуется в пользу тех, кто возражает. Спасибо.
I think I'll made my decision. The amendment was defeated, and we move on. Now I call Mr. Peter Kopitis is not here. I ask about Ms. Katsarava's opinion on the amendment 14.
I agree with that amendment.
Thank you. Now I'll show part to the vote again. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. I ask Angry, you are voting in favor, okay, just two. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Abstentions? Thank you. So the amendment is adopted with 24 votes in favor, 8 against, and 3 abstentions. So amendment 15, no, we'll now vote on the paragraph 33. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the amendment is adopted with 34 votes in favor, 4 against, and no abstentions. Now I call Mr. Aldag from Canada to propose Amendment 15.
Colleagues, thank you for considering my proposed amendment to the Second General Committee's draft resolution. I'm proposing that an operative paragraph be added to the draft resolution in order to emphasize the need for concrete action on climate change in the form of carbon pricing. Putting a price on carbon helps to tackle climate change at its source. Some OSCE countries, including Canada, have implemented national carbon pricing frameworks and are also cooperating regionally and internationally on the development of such mechanisms. Combating climate change requires the private sector and individuals to change their investment, production, and consumption patterns. While this task is not simple, it will be less daunting with extensive cooperation and collaboration among stakeholders. As such, the OSCE and the OSCE EPA should support participating states in their efforts to adopt and improve carbon pricing mechanisms by facilitating information sharing among state and non-state actors. I kindly ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? Ms. Katsarava, what's your opinion?
I support this amendment.
Thank you. I'll put this amendment to the vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? So the amendment is adopted with 32 votes in favor, 2 against, and 2 abstentions. We'll now take the paragraphs 34 to 37 together. Does anyone want to separate them? So we'll now vote these paragraphs. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Those, any abstentions? Sorry, any abstentions? So the amendment was agreed to 39 in favor, 2 against, and no abstentions. Now I call Mr. Iltpold from Switzerland to propose Amendment 16.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Mes chers collègues, il est nécessaire que les parlements s'impliquent dans le processus complexe d'adaptation des législations nationales et internationales touchées par les changements liés à la numérisation. Les parlementaires doivent être des acteurs au centre de ce processus et c'est la raison pour laquelle je vous propose d'accepter cet amendement qui va dans le sens des arguments que je viens d'évoquer. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to speak against this amendment? Ms. Katsaravas, please, you have the floor.
I support this amendment.
Thank you. So we'll proceed to vote. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those who are against? Thank you. Any abstentions? 1. Thank you. The amendment is adopted with 38 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstention. We'll now vote on paragraph 38 as amended. Those in favor, please raise your cards. Thank you. Those against? No. Any abstentions? So the paragraph 38 is agreed to 42 votes in favor, none against, and no abstentions. We will now take the paragraph 39 to 42 together. Does anyone want to separate them? We'll now vote on this. Oh, Russian delegation, please, you have the floor.
Нам бы хотелось в отдельное производство выделить пункт 40. По процедуре можно сейчас доложить, почему мы возражаем? или затем отдельно дадите слово? 40-й пункт у нас вызывает возражение. Я вижу замешательство в президиуме, поэтому воспользуюсь этим. Опасность включения данного пункта в резолюцию. Здесь видится попытка создать в рамках ОБСЕ параллельные системе ООН мониторинговые структуры по экологии, в сфере ответственности, структуры компетенций которых не ясна. Вследствие этого стоит ожидать попытки продвинуть их ангажированную экспертизу на площадке универсальных конвенций и природоохранных институтов Организации Объединенных Наций в качестве экспертных организаций с целью политизации работы. Поэтому я призываю все-таки пользоваться теми инструментами, которые уже есть, которые действуют и которые никогда не вызывали у нас, как у ОБСЕ, противоречий. Возражения и опасения тут синхронны с теми, которые были по пункту, по-моему, 13-му, где тоже предлагается создание новых структур. Поэтому давайте пользоваться теми инструментами, которые есть, потому что пункт 40 нас призывает ни много ни мало создать систему экологического мониторинга. У нас что, этого экологического мониторинга нет, что ли? Он существует? Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Onichenko. So I think Russian delegation requests a separate vote on paragraph 40. That's it. First, does the committee agree to all the paragraphs in the text up to that point, up to 40?
39.
Okay.
Up to 40, right?
Up to 40. So paragraph 39 is agreed. Is agreed, okay? Okay. We now come to paragraph 40. That's the point.
He's already explained. Does he have
does anyone wish to speak just to oppose the Russian point on paragraph 40? Please, Ukrainian delegation, you have the floor.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги, я еще раз хочу поблагодарить госпожу Кацараву, автора проекта резолюции, за то, что насколько все продуманно и взаимосвязано каждый из этих пунктов, и все это в соответствии с основами деятельности нашей организации. Я возьму на себя такую смелость повторить очевидные вещи. Главными задачами ОБСЕ являются предотвращение конфликтов в регионе, урегулирование кризисных ситуаций, ликвидация последствий. Я не могу себе представить выполнение этих задач, в частности, ликвидацию последствий, если мы будем уходить от конкретных форм деятельности, в том числе организационных, для того, чтобы выполнять, собственно, те цели, которые поставлены нами в нашей организации. В частности, вот по пункту 40 могу сказать о том, что действительно для того, чтобы часто находить решения как по урегулированию создавшейся ситуации, так и ликвидации их последствий, должны быть особые формы мониторингов, и в том числе экологического. Я могу сослаться на катастрофическую ситуацию экологическую в автономной республике Крым и в городе Севастополе, которые временно оккупированы Российской Федерацией. И, соответственно, для того, чтобы не просто зафиксировать то, что там происходит, но и найти верные и эффективные решения этих последствий, необходимо, чтобы были конкретизированы формы нашей деятельности в этих направлениях. Поэтому предложение господина депутата из Российской Федерации о том, чтобы отклонить пункт 40 мы не принимаем, мы предлагаем его и призываем всех оставить этот пункт резолюции. Спасибо.
So what is Ms. Katsarova's opinion?
I'm on the same page as our Ukrainian colleague. There are definitely challenges which need to be addressed, and there is a need to take action. So I also call on the colleagues to support the original version of the resolution.
Thank you very much. So we'll now vote on paragraph 40. Those who are in favor, please raise your cards.
In favor to keep this, right?
Yes. In favor to the original version, yes.
Because Russians also raised it, just to make it clear.
Thank you. Those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. So the paragraph 40 is agreed to 34 in favor, 7 against, and 3 abstentions. Now, does the committee agree to paragraphs 41 and 42? I'll put it for the vote. Those in favor, 41 and 42. Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? One abstention. So paragraph 41 and 42 are agreed to 39 votes in favor, none against. Then we must end this morning's meeting. We restart at 2:30. As I said before, you can leave your stuff here inside if you want to. Thank you.